ASAC has called on the players in the electricity sector in Kenya to work together and are pushing the government to open up the sector to more private players in the country. Speaking during the third anniversary celebrations for ASAC in the sector, the government, through the Energy Regulatory Authority, has reaffirmed the government's commitment to creating a legal framework to draw more players to the national grid so as to realize market-driven tariffs in the country. The Electricity Sector Association of Kenya, celebrating 3 years of existence in the energy sector in the country, has brought together players both in the private and public sector in the country to have conversations around how Kenya can achieve its energy goals as envisioned in Vision 2030. With the energy sector a key driver to Kenya's economy, conversations around democratizing the space to allow private players to plug into the main Kenya power grid have never made it to policy level. This, the Energy Regulatory Authority, APRA, says will be realized soon. For now, the status quo remains as systems take shape in the background to draw in more players into the KPLC grid.
We just need a bit more time to develop the system, and then you'll be able to sell to me as my neighbor, and I'll be able to sell to you. But until that point, while we're still centralized, we don't want that to run amok and have everybody selling to Kenya Power, and then they have no one to sell to. So we're trying to control that relatively. Kenya
Power, that has for a long time been questioned for their losses in a sector they play almost as monopolies, has come out to defend its results, indicating that the last mile connectivity program by the government continues to put stress on the existing systems.
With the increased connectivity, our losses are increasing. Yeah, our system losses are increasing because the expansion was not done in a way that took into consideration the technical specification as that was being done. And so even as people argue out and complain KPLC losses are high, let's be very careful, because KPLC is trying to reach as many people as possible, and there are certain consequences that follows that particular effect.
KPLC has also called on Kenyans to bear with the recent increase in power tariffs across the country, saying the recent review in power rates in the country are meant to give KPLC more capacity to deliver on their mandate without interruptions.
That 1 unit of power can support you if you are just doing the ordinary basic things. You can imagine 25 shillings supporting a household of 5 people. Them doing everything. We spend 25 shillings when we are talking on phone for less than how many minutes? And we don't complain. If you look at the cost you spend on your mobile phone, we spend 10,000, 8,000 as an individual. If you combine it, if you're married, your husband and wife plus children, you do more than 10,000.
Players in the sector are, however, optimistic that now, more than ever, the government is open to working with them in opening up the sector to the private sector, with a 2023 seen as the year that some, if not majority, of the conversations in this area are going to be realized.
Yes, there is. They've set up a EV dedicated office, and we're working with them to get extra special help on site identification and just engineering help to spec out what we need.
In Kenya, the narrative over the past years has been about demand creation in the sector, because our economic blueprint, the Kenya Vision 2030, is anchored around increased generation of electricity. But we can see our economy has not been growing as much as has been projected, and this now has affected the capacity of new projects being onboarded to the grid for sale of electricity to KPLC.
So how can we ensure that all these private players get an opportunity to access whatever markets that they see as targets, while ensuring the whole still functions? And that's where the conversation around CNI players, the ones who do the solar plants within the industries, the IPPs, the transmission people, how does the whole ecosystem work together? And it's really a conversation that is beyond any one organization in the sector.
The biggest takeaway from this particular meeting has been how the national energy sector cake can be shared properly within the public sector and the private sector. And whether Kenya is up to speed with meeting the energy goals by 2030 is also a conversation that has come to the fore. For Look at Business, Simba, Elijah Charles Kiag. Horticultural farmers through